A very good evening. It's Sunday, the 16th of August 2015, and welcome to another edition of the News First Weekend. I'm Arundhati Mudanayaka. There are less than 12 hours for the general elections 2015, and we have a comprehensive report of all election preparations. But before that, if you look at the stories making headlines this evening.
All preparations completed for the 2015 general election. Election law violations will be met with severe punishment, a warning from the Elections Commissioner. Police SUV on election duty falls off a precipice, injuring 3. Wreckage of Indonesian plane carrying 54 people discovered in Papua.
It's D-Day for the people, and the candidates hoping to get elected to the legislature at Sri Lanka will head to the polls at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Speaking on the Saturn political program telecast on our sister channel Citizen TV last night, Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya urged voters to cast their ballots early.
All preparations are made for the elections. Voting is your right. So on election day, use your power to vote fearlessly. Voters who are planning to cast their franchise in the evening, I suggest that you do so in the morning hours and avoid loitering in the vicinity of your polling station or any other area looking for trouble. Go back to your homes or workplace after voting.
The
Elections Commissioner also elaborated on the voting process.
This sheet of paper shows the name of the party and details of independent groups, and next to it the party symbol. Close to it you will see a blank box where you mark a cross on the party or independent group of your reference. If there is more than one cross marked in the box, that vote will be rejected. It is only after this that you should think about the preferential vote. You could refrain from marking your preferential vote if you wish. You could also just mark one preferential vote or even 3. But if you vote for more than 3, that vote will be rejected. Even if your preferential vote is not marked, your vote for the party will be counted. But if you mark just your preferential vote without marking your vote for the party, that vote will definitely be rejected.
As officials prepare the polling stations and counting centres across the island, Newsfirst, reporters, network of correspondents and new reporters are also geared up to bring you the latest from the 2015 general election, first and fast. Shahin Party has more.
Good evening and thank you very much. Well, all preparations are underway at the Newsfirst election headquarters to bring you the details on the all-important general elections tomorrow. Now with just a few more hours to go, 15,044,490 voters have been deemed eligible to exercise their franchise at the ballots tomorrow, while 6,151 candidates will be contesting from accepted political parties and independent groups. 196 will be elected to the legislature. With that being said, a total of 12,314 polling centres have been established island-wide for the over 50 million voters to exercise their franchise. Well, Newsfirst reporters have been dispatched island-wide to bring you the details of that particular district as and when it happens to your homes. Well, in the Kurunegala district, we have Sadhuru Ferdinando standing by, and in Hambantota, we have Maria Kayed, and down here in Jaffna, we have Mitudam De Silva, and in Nuwara Eliya district, we have Mahina Bongso. Let's cross over to Sanduru Ferdinando first. Sanduru, what is the atmosphere in the Kurunegala district right now?
I'm reporting from Kurunegala, which is part of the northwestern province. Now here in Kurunegala, there will be 1,266,443 persons who are eligible for voting at the general election tomorrow. Now these voters, they will have the opportunity to elect 15 members to the parliament tomorrow. Well, apart from that, when we arrived here today, we witnessed that there were some gloomy skies. However, now the skies have cleared and we're experiencing a very sunny weather. So we hope this weather pattern continues tomorrow as well, and we will be covering each and every area to make sure that you get the latest news as and when it unfolds. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Sanduru Ferdinando.
We now cross over to the Hambantota district where Maria Kayed is standing by to give us the details of the situation there in Hambantota. Maria, what do you have for us?
There is a sense of calmness in Hambantota. So far, no incidents have been reported since our arrival. However, security is pretty tight in the area with the aim of preventing any unlawful acts or incidents from taking place. Now, the ballot boxes were brought into the polling stations, and in Hambantota, 411 polling stations have been set up for the public to exercise their franchise during tomorrow's polls. In addition, 462,911 people are eligible to cast their votes. We shall bring you more updates from this part of the island once the polls open tomorrow for the 2015 parliamentary elections. For the News First team, I'm Maria Kaid reporting from Hambantota.
Well, thank you very much, Maria. We now cross over to the Jaffna district where we have Mitudam De Silva standing by. Mitudam, what is the latest from Jaffna ahead of tomorrow's polls?
After a 10-minute sea journey, the News First team arrived in the Nainatiu Island, which belongs to the Jaffna polling division. Right now, I'm standing in front of the Nainatiu Sri Nagapushani Vidyalam, which is going to be one of the 256 polling centers which will operate in the Jaffna district from tomorrow morning. So, over 520,000 registered voters are going to make their way to these 526 polling centers located in the Jaffna district. Even though the atmosphere is very calm and quiet and void of human activity, tomorrow it's going to be a busy day. I'm Mitudam De Silva reporting for News First from Jaffna.
Well, thank you very much, Mithu. We now cross over to the Nuwara district where News First Mahina Bongso is standing by to give us the latest on the situation there. Mahina, what do you have for us, Mahina?
Ballot boxes have been brought in throughout the day today here in the Nuwara district. As you can see behind me is a counting center and a polling center actually, the Gamini Central College in Nuwara. We're on the Badula Nuwara Road and the weather isn't very great. It's slightly drizzling here and it's overcast, but that's not stopping the officers, the government officers who are working tirelessly around the clock to make sure that these ballot boxes are not tampered with, and there's also a heavy police presence here, STF presence here to ensure utmost security is provided to these ballot boxes. There are 423 polling centers in Nuwara. 8,500 government officers have been deployed for election duty here in Nuwara. I'm Mahina Bongso reporting for News First from Nuwara.
Thank you, Shaheen, for that comprehensive report. Now, just as our reporters who are dispatched across the 9 provinces of the country to bring you the details on election day, the News First Elections headquarters is also ready to bring you the results of the election on our first and fast election coverage from Stein Studios in Ratmalana. We now join News First Chaturanga Hapwarachi, who is at the location to brief us on the preparations there.
Good evening, Arundhati. Good evening to our viewers. We are at the Stein Studios complex in Ratmalana. As you can see, preparations are being made here to bring you the election results first and fast through News First. Now, as you can see behind me, a lot of groups are working tirelessly to get the election results to you first and fast. We will be providing you the election results. We will be giving you an analysis of the election results as and when we receive them. And we will be bringing you all the details as the election results unfold. If I am to direct your attention towards what's happening behind the set, we have election results being analyzed right at this location where our engineering team of the News First team is here to bring you the results first and fast. We are working tirelessly, as I mentioned earlier, to bring you this information, and we will also be providing complete analysis of the election results. From the Stein Studios here in Ratmalana, I am Chaturanga Hapwarachi reporting for News First.
Thank you, Chaturanga. And we would like to remind our viewers once again that our reporters, correspondents and new reporters based across the country are geared and all set to bring you the latest happenings from 7 a.m. tomorrow when polls open until the closing of the polls at 4 p.m. So stay with News First, your election headquarters. Now moving on, Professor Kapil Shrestha of the Asian Network for Free Elections says the whole world is anxiously watching Sri Lanka as the country heads into a decisive general election. Newsfirst Mitudam De Silva caught up with Professor Shesta, who is currently visiting the island as part of a team of international monitors.
Professor, as an independent foreign election observer, what do you suggest that the role and the responsibility of the public during an election is, and also the role and responsibility of the government?
I'm hopeful. See, because if I had some journalists had met me some 3 or 5 years ago, your questions would have been different, and my answers would have been different. We would have been so critical of this, that, and that. But now, we are so happy that things are shaping and moving in right direction. In a democracy, elections are very important. Elections are life and blood of a democracy. So, the whole world is anxiously watching Sri Lanka, how Sri Lankans are going to vote. Whether elections in Sri Lanka are going to be free, fair, credible, and peaceful.
Convening a media briefing in Colombo today, election monitoring bodies made an appeal to candidates and voters.
There were attempts to carry out their own election campaigning by organizing religious activities with Buddhist monks. We request all candidates to refrain from such activities at least today. Moreover, cards bearing the preferential numbers of candidates had been thrown away close to polling stations. These may be minor incidents, but they are still in violation of election laws. We request candidates not to cause any disruptions during these final few hours.
මේ අන්තිම පැය කිහිපෙදී කඩා බිඳ දමන්න එපාය කියලා අපි අපේක්ෂකයන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. අනුරාධපුර දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ ඊයේ දිනේදී
We received reports where roads in the Anuradhapura district were quickly being renovated. We as residents also like the fact that roads are being developed in these rural areas at least during election time. People get some relief. However, there is absolutely no way of approving for such actions at the brink of an election.
මැතිවරණයේ ආසන්න මොහොතේ වැනි ක්‍රියා කිසිලෙසකවත් අනුමත කරන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ.
මේ මැතිවරණය ප්‍රකාශයට පත්වීමෙන් පස්සේ කාල සීමාව තුල මරණ 4ක් සිදු වුණා.
4 deaths were reported since the announcement of this election. However, in comparison to previous elections in terms of violence, vandalism, assaults and acts of cruelty, this election period has been relatively peaceful. Of the 132 complaints we have received in total, a majority of them are related to vandalism of election campaigning hoardings at election officers and other types of property damage.
ප්‍රචාරක කාර්යාලවල ප්‍රචාරක පුවරු විනාශ කිරීම කියන දේපල අලබහනි කිරීමේ කැටගරි එක යටතේ.
උදෑසනම ඡන්ද පොලට ගිහිල්ලා
We request everyone to go to the polling centers early and consider the criteria stated in the March 12 declaration and vote for suitable candidates from any political party who are not involved in corruption.
පුද්ගලයන් ඕනෑම දේශපාලන පක්ෂයකින් තෝරලා
The Elections Commissioner has guaranteed that election laws will be enforced to the letter on election day, just as in the run-up to the poll.
There is no need to throw around bits of papers near the polling station. Those who are caught throwing away or distributing pieces of paper outside the polling stations will have to take up lodging where they are fed by the government. In other words, the police station or remand custody. The law has punishment for crimes. Do not think that we will not enforce these punishments. Political activities that are being done at religious places under the guise of religious functions are very bad for both politics and the religion. Obtaining blessings is one thing, but do not go with a group and do not hold meetings. Our Act says that such actions are considered to be actions for undue influence. Such persons will definitely lose their parliamentary membership. Vote rigging, offering treats, undue influence and offering bribes are all actions that can unseat an MP.
Then what is the responsibility of polling centre officials? How should we deal with them?
If you experience a certain problem while on your way to the polling centre, you can report that to the senior official at the polling centre. If not, you can also report it to the police officers at the polling centre. If you are fearful, then you can send us an SMS. However, you need to mention the name of the polling centre clearly when sending an SMS. Now imagine that a bribe is being offered. What should be done? What is the procedure?
This has a long history. There is a separate book about this. This includes giving treats. If food is offered, if a drink is offered, or equipment, a license, money, or even if a vehicle is provided, the police can file charges. However, it requires the approval of the Attorney General. What is the state of asset declaration of candidates this time around? It is in a very satisfactory state considering the candidates of all the parties that represent the parliament. There is one party which has 300 candidates. Only one candidate has not submitted the asset declaration. That person has been hospitalized.
Is there any possibility for the general public to have access to these declarations?
As per the law, there is a time period of 3 months for a candidate to hand over this document. We file charges against defeated candidates if they have not handed it over. If someone wants to have access to such a document, they need to make a request from us. We must create a culture where we encourage the candidate to publish this declaration on their websites. There was a new law this time where government ministers were able to continue using their government vehicles if they are using one by paying 100,000 rupees. Most have paid this, but there are some who are using 4 vehicles. They have paid for 3 but not paid for 1. We have found out about several such vehicles. Police officers will be visiting the houses of these politicians to take over the vehicles. I believe that several election monitoring bodies will go to courts or the Human Rights Commission against those politicians who do not hand over the vehicles or those who do not pay this amount. There were several reports in the recent past that underworld gangs are roaming around Colombo. All those who are in the underworld are also people, no matter what they do at polling centers. No one is immune. We can see what will happen to them.
Leader of the National Movement for a Just Society, Venerable Madhulwave Sobhitathera, lodged a complaint with the Elections Commissioner today.
Venerable Madhulwave Sobhitathera, who visited the Election Secretariat today, urged the public to not violate election laws.
We commend the Election Commissioner's journey thus far. We know that there are individuals who violate election laws. We wish the Elections Commissioner that he receives the strength to conduct a successful election. It does not matter from which party, but we have received information with regard to election law violations taking place in several areas. We reminded him to be consistent when handling the complaints he receives. That is why we reminded him to not allow anyone to commit such acts.
Newsfirst contacted police media spokesperson ASP Ruwan Gunasekara with regard to the security arrangements in view of the elections.
මේ වන විට මැතිවරණය සඳහා පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් 63000කට අධික පිරිසක්
We have deployed over 63,000 police officers and more than 7,000 civil defence force officers and more than 4,000 police special task force officers for election duty. 2,885 mobile patrols are in operation all over the island. For the security of the polling stations and ballot boxes, armed officers will be stationed at those locations. Each mobile patrol will maintain security for 3 polling stations. These mobile patrols will provide the security details for the polling centre. We wish to inform the candidates and their supporters to refrain from engaging in illegal election campaigning. We will arrest anyone who engages in illegal campaigning. Persons who violate the laws during these 2 days will be arrested and produced before court, and we request courts to place them under remand custody.
සහ හෙට දින එවැනි නීති විරෝධී ක්‍රියාවල යෙදෙන පුද්ගලයන්ව අත්අඩංගුවටගෙන අධිකරණයට ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමෙන් පසුව අපි අධිකරණ වලින් ඉල්ලා සිටින්නේ ඔවුන් රක්ෂිත බන්ධනාගාරගත කරන.
Voting is your right. We conducted 2 island-wide programs with the aim of creating awareness on the value of your vote and electing suitable persons to Parliament. Our first program was our door-to-door anti-drug drive to educate the public on the harmful effects of drugs. Our second program was the Think campaign, which transformed into a campaign which we called Don't, to ensure the people are mindful on who they will elect to Parliament. Our sole objective was to ensure the value of your decision on the 17th of August. Place the country before political party affiliations. Use your right for the betterment of the country. Do not let your vote go astray. We are with you for a prosperous nation and a better tomorrow.
A police SUV detailed for election duty fell off a precipice today in Diyathalava. A police inspector, sergeant and constable were injured after their vehicle went over the precipice in Kaduruguwa, Diyathalava at around 11:30 this morning. Police stated that the accident occurred while the police officers were engaged in election monitoring activities. They are currently receiving treatment at the Diyathalava hospital. A civilian who attempted to impersonate an STF officer at the Veragula Primary School in Balana, Kaduganna, was taken into custody by the police. The suspect was dressed in an STF uniform at the time of the arrest. Meanwhile, a tense situation arose when an officer who was engaging in election duties complained that there was not enough transportation facilities at the election centre in the Pulgola Science Faculty.
We have been waiting here for the past 3.5 hours. If something takes place tomorrow, we will be the ones who will be sent home. There is no proper plan and there is nobody to tell these things to. There was no transportation till 11:30. We have so much administration work to be done. We have a meeting to attend this evening as well. A defender transporting 78,000 posters, banners and cutouts was seized by the police in Vallavaya this morning. Police suspect that the propaganda material was to be distributed today. This is a special announcement to all Newsfirst reporters across the country. If you see any illegal distribution of alcohol for political gains ahead of tomorrow's general elections in your area, we urge you to capture this on video and send it to us. Prize money will be awarded for these videos. Sri Lanka were defeated by favourites Hong Kong 15-29 in the finals of the Asian Under-20 Rugby Sevens tournament held today. With more news from the sporting arena, up next it's a sports roundup.
Sri Lanka's woes at the Netball World Cup continued today as they were defeated 59-32 by Singapore in the 15th place match. Sri Lanka have been unable to win a single match at the tournament. Hosts Australia beat neighbours New Zealand 58-55 in the final to claim the title of world champions. Ardhavan Pushparaj won the Under-16 boys tournament in the 100th Junior National Tennis Championships today. Anika Seniviratna meanwhile won the Under-14 girls tournament. The 100th Junior National and National Tennis tournaments got underway at the SLTA courts today.
Well, that's a wrap from the Newsfirst team for tonight, but be sure to join us on our first and fast election coverage from 7 a.m. tomorrow for the latest of the 2015 general election. Thank you for joining us. Good night.